What's up everyone, Reaper here. Real quick before we begin, a little disclaimer. This will be my first time giving a review, so please bear with me if some things are incorrect. If there's anything that stands out, do let me know in the comments. Alright, let's jump in. Today, we're checking out Beast of Reincarnation, a brand new action RPG that just released. I've only spent about 2 hours with the game so far, so this isn't a full review. Think of this more as a first impressions video covering what the game is, how it plays, and whether it's something Souls and JRPG fans should keep an eye on. I'm not going to be talking about the endgame or anything beyond the opening hours, so if you're trying to decide whether this game is worth picking up, hopefully this gives you a good idea of what to expect. If you've seen the trailers, you'll probably already notice the Souls-like inspiration. This is a third-person action RPG with challenging enemies, deliberate combat, exploration, and a heavy emphasis on learning enemy attack patterns rather than simply overpowering everything. It also carries that distinct Japanese action RPG style, both in its world design and overall presentation. If you're a fan of games where timing, positioning, patience, and reading patterns matter more than button mashing, you'll probably feel right at home. That said, don't go into this expecting a direct clone. Even in the opening hours, the game has its own identity and rhythm. The biggest thing that stood out to me during my first 2 hours was definitely the combat. Every encounter feels like it matters. Enemies hit hard enough that you can't just run in swinging wildly, and you're rewarded for taking your time and learning their moves. Dodging feels responsive, attacks have weight behind them, and fights become much smoother once you stop treating them like a hack and slash game. The pacing reminds me of the kind of experience where patience pays off. Instead of rushing through areas, you're constantly paying attention to enemy positioning and figuring out the safest way to approach each fight. Also, I've been playing on the hardest difficulty and it seems genuinely not too bad besides enemies just hitting really hard and having more health. Just by fighting, you can obtain ambers and level up your attributes and skill tree for a better combat experience if you're having trouble. In my opinion, combat has been the strongest part of the experience so far. Outside of combat, the game encourages exploration. There are side paths to investigate, items hidden around the world, and enough environmental detail to make it worth slowing down instead of sprinting straight toward the objective. The opening areas aren't overwhelming, but they do reward players who enjoy looking around rather than following the main path every second. There's a lot more to cover like graphics, art, performance, etc., but those two in particular really stood out. As for graphics, it definitely is on the negative side as it has mixed reviews on it currently. Majority of the negative comments seem to discuss the fact that the graphics look oddly grainy and blurry, which was the same for me, and it definitely isn't the greatest. However, what I did was change a few settings which helped the game look a ton better. Depth of field should be turned off. Make sure you have upscaling enabled to your designated GPU in AMD or NVIDIA, and increase upscaling quality and sharpness to your liking. Make sure texture quality is max and ray tracing for those who with RTX or higher GPUs that can handle it. Motion blur is off, which helps with the annoying blur that often gives a headache when turning the camera. All in all, the game runs incredibly well, that so far I have not encountered any stutters, as it is pretty well optimized. And for the haters that say there's not enough effort put into the visualization of the game, hats off to the devs for the cool details on the effects. If you're thinking about buying this game, here's what I'd expect going in. Expect challenging fights, expect to die while learning enemy patterns, especially on the harder difficulties. Expect combat that rewards patience, and expect a game that's more methodical than fast-paced. If you're looking for an easy action game where you can mash buttons and clear everything effortlessly, you probably guessed it. This probably is for you. To be honest, I feel like I've been just mashing a few buttons on the first boss and it really feels more fast-paced than anything, though it may not be true for the rest of the game. All in all, if you enjoy overcoming difficult encounters and gradually mastering the mechanics, there's a good chance you'll enjoy what Beast of Reincarnation is offering. Since this is only based on my first 2 hours, I'm not going to score the game yet. There's still a lot I haven't seen, including later areas, progression systems, bosses, and whatever the endgame has to offer. But based solely on the opening experience, the game makes a solid first impression. Combat has been engaging, exploration has been enjoyable, and has done enough to make me want to keep playing. I'll save my final judgment until I've had a chance to experience much more of the game. That's going to do it for my first impressions of Beast of Reincarnation. If you've already started playing, let me know what you think down in the comments. I'd love to hear how your experience has been so far, and if you're waiting to pick it up, let me know what's making you interested in it. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll have more coverage once I've spent more time with the game. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.